Hi my loves, welcome and welcome back to my channel. It's me, your girl, Serahdonaldpr, and today we're going to be talking about everything Airbnb because I've gotten a lot of requests to make a video on Airbnb, and for someone who also runs an Airbnb business, Shortlet in Nigeria, a lot of returnees have asked this question: Sarah, is Airbnb still a thing? Can it fetch us money? Or let's just say you want to start investing in Nigeria and you feel like, oh, I have land or I have properties, and is it still a good idea to try on Airbnb? So I'm going to be breaking it down for you lot today. If you see me going down, that's because I had to take notes. I took my time. The first thing I'll say to starting an Airbnb business is that yes, Airbnb still really works in Nigeria, short stay, shortlet. We call it Airbnb or shortlet, and I'm going to explain for that later. So yes, it still works very well, and the good thing is that this is one of the businesses that returnees can actually get into. This is one of the businesses where you do not have to be physically in Nigeria in order to run the business here. So in case you want to do something with Naira, or you want to start saving Naira, so you want a business that will pay you in Naira, you're probably planning to come back after a while, and you're like, you know what, I want to start doing something now. Now, the good thing about Airbnb as well is that we have two options, which is the rent to rent or the buy. So let's say you even have the buy. That means I recently helped someone to acquire somewhere that they were going to be using as Airbnb. Now, his plan was that he was going to be using this for Airbnb, but he wants to be coming home every Christmas. So every Christmas, he will not book for it. He will not book the place. So instead of staying in a hotel or somewhere else where he comes, he gets to stay in that place with his family. So when he's not around, he still gets to make money off this place, and then when he's around, he still gets to stay there. So yeah, Airbnb is something that you can start small as well. If you already have like existing properties and you just want to convert it to Airbnb short stay, you want to leave the country, or you're coming back and you don't want to sell or something like that, Airbnb is also something that you can keep. Now obviously the difference between Airbnb and rental is that in Airbnb and Shortlet, you pay, they have per night, 2 weeks, 1 week, 1 month, depending on how long. But with outright rent is that place is occupied for a year and is not furnished. While with Airbnb and Shortlet, obviously you're going to furnish it. So which one do you want to start with? Rent to rent or buy? I've spoken about buying, right? Buying, of course, is more economically, or will I say more consuming, because you need to have your own money to buy the place. While renting is something that is called rent to rent. So it's a place where you can rent a place for 5 years. If you have the money to rent a place but you don't have money to buy, probably you want an Airbnb in Ikoyi. Now Ikoyi is a lucky one, and these places are very expensive, so you don't have the full funds to actually acquire a place now and build it to the taste on how you want. But you have the funds to do a rent to rent, meaning you rent it from someone and do like a long lease where you rent it from the person for 5 years, then turn the place into a business. Now, if you're doing this, there are other things to consider, which is generally, even if you're buying, you have to make sure that the place you are, if it's an estate, please make sure that they allow Airbnb. A lot of estates do not allow Shortlet. Yes, especially lots of family estates. Even when they do, they have rules guiding that place. So be very, very sure. They'll tell you, some estates will tell you things like no party, things like that, right? So be sure that before you do that long list thing, that you're actually sure that this is something you can use for business. And it is also important to tell the person what you are using it for. Like, don't just rent a place for 5 years and say you want to stay. I think I made a video of a lady who rented a place and then turned it into a shop. People are saying, oh, he doesn't have the right to tell you what not to do with the place. No, he has the right. The landlord has the right to say no to that place being business, because remember, he rented it to you as you are going to stay. It's not the same thing as that. So the landlord actually refunded her money and told her to leave the place, even though she had already done a lot of work there. So when you're getting a place for Airbnb, it's important to note. So I have Airbnb. I run a few Airbnb business in Nigeria. The reason I do not promote them on this channel, because I have people that come back and I know they ask me a lot about Airbnb and all. The reason I do not promote them is that I leased it to somebody because I felt like it was a better idea. As the thing about your property, you can literally use it to do whatever you want because it's your property. So I got a good deal to say, you know what, instead of running this thing as a short stay, the locations are what we want. So we have companies that want to bring in their staff and they want to use it for this period of time. So there's no need of me advertising it because it's gone for a period of time. Does that make sense? Now that's also the advantage of Airbnb. So now I am not the one dealing with the company directly. The person dealing with the company directly is the person that rented from me. That's why it's called the rent to rent. So you might have, loose cash out there. You want to start your own, but you don't want something permanent. You want to try it out. It's also something you can do. You can lease someone's place for 2 to 3 years and use it and try out the Airbnb business, right? Yeah, and see how it works. Now, like I said, make sure that the estate allows Airbnb. Now, another thing to consider is if you're coming to, another thing to consider is location. If you live in a place like Lagos, you know that Lagos has areas where your Airbnb will boom. Example, Ikoyi is one of the higher end places in Lagos, but I can tell you that Airbnb in Ikoyi might necessarily not do well. Why? Apartments will do well, but Airbnb will not really do well. Why? Because a lot of people that live in Ikoyi own properties there, old money, properties that their parents gave them or something like that. So chances are they don't really stay there. But even the people who want to use their properties for short stay will not want to have people coming in there every now and then, because of course, the more people come into your place, things get spoiled. So they go more for apartments. So I feel like things like apartments work better, in case maybe there's another name for it, because there's always a different name in the country. By apartments, I mean is more towards short stay. So they do up very nice furnished apartments and rent it for as high as 25 million 30 million a year. So mostly they rent it to people who are coming into the country, for their expats that want to give it to like their high managers, and they know that this person is going to come here for a period of time, multinational, and this person will be here for 1 year. And because the person is top in the company, they want the person to be in a very exclusive place. That's when they come. But will your turnover be like someone who has Airbnb in VI or Lekki? No. Obviously, people with Airbnb in this area will obviously have better turnaround, like when it comes to cash flow. So you're talking of Lekki. Now, I saw location is very, very, very important. So don't just say, oh, it's Lagos, anywhere will work. I saw someone doing like Airbnb around that Dangote refinery, and she was advertising the place, not Airbnb, she was advertising properties. And she was like, oh, you can even use this for Airbnb. I was like, really? So you think somebody is going to come into Lagos and then go all the way to Shangotedo for Airbnb? Like, do you know that when people come into Lagos, like, because Airbnb is mostly for people that don't live in Lagos, they're coming to visit, they're coming for holiday. I just got back around now, they filled up the entire Airbnb. These are the people that will stay here. So are you trying to tell me that they will come and then stay all the way to almost the outskirts of Lagos? No, I don't think. But of course, she's trying to market her stuff, so she'll use every marketing skills to get it done. But please be very careful. I mean, when you think of Lagos, I'll say locations like Lekki. Even in Lekki, I'll say places like Lekki 1 to Chevron. Chevron will be it for me in terms of, depends on how many bedrooms. So with Chevron now, you notice that a lot of content creators, when they come to Nigeria with their family, you see that they usually stay around Chevron area, because Chevron gives you an estate. So you have like 24 hours estate security and all that. And secondly, it gives them like that massive space, 4 bed, 5 bed. So if you're coming with your family, you don't want like 1 or 2 bed, you're looking for 4, 5 bed. It's usually around that Chevron area. But if you're looking for like a high turnout, you're looking for like a 1 or 2 bed in Lekki 1, those ones will always go. Every weekend, you're likely to get a booking. Either people are coming for visa appointments, they book for a night, or they are coming for work stuff, or they just want to chill, or they fumigated their house. So the turnaround in locations like this will definitely be higher. Now you're talking about places like Yaba as well. Yaba is a good spot as well for your Airbnb business. So yes, before you buy any form of Airbnb, I would advise that you go check the area, check how much the area is, how developed it is, check the just the feel of the place, because this is the things that people look out for when they're trying to book Airbnb. How many bedrooms also matter. Like I said, we have 1 bed, 2 bed that will always go faster than the 4-5 bed. 4-5 beds will be slower because it's more like family based, or a group of people that are coming to do party, wedding, which is okay. So just tailor your marketing towards that, right? Tailor your marketing. If you have 4-5 bed, tailor it towards family that are coming to Nigeria with their entire family. Tailor it towards people that are doing weddings and they're coming with their entire team. Now, another thing to look out for when buying is, do you want to stay in an estate or do you want a standalone? Both has the advantage and disadvantage. Now, like I always say, in an estate, in a fully serviced estate, it means that you don't have to worry about power, which is electricity, because the estate is going to offer the 24-hour light or 16-hour, 18-hour, depends on how many hours the estate is offering you. You don't have to also deal with water. If you live in Lekki, where water can be an issue, you also don't have to deal with water because the estate will naturally treat the water. You also do not have to deal with security because these estates have uniform securities and mobile security, right? So what they do is, if the person is staying for 2-3 days, they check in the person for that period of time. So it's very important to look at your location, the things around you, right? Imagine you have an Airbnb inside somewhere that has like a very crazy drive where you have to enter somewhere, turn left, turn right, turn left again. When you go straight, if the person goes and the person is trying to renew, after 1 day, that can make the person run, because I didn't come all the way to go through all this hassle to get to your place. So it's important to note that. And like I said, the highest advantage of estates is the estate management. Sometimes the estate management will even say yes to it, and the estate will change the management, and they realize that, okay, Airbnb is causing issues for us, because sometimes some people believe that Airbnb causes security issues as well. A lot of people that they don't know, too much check in and out. They want their kids, which is the whole idea of smaller estates. You want your child to just go outside playing and you can just spot, this is where my child is, this is where my child is, right? This estate I live in and the other estate, the reason I went for it is also something like that. You want where you know your neighbor. But there are also very, 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 very big estates that don't mind. So it's important to note that a smaller estates can change their mind from Airbnb, which of course is not a loss. If they do, you sell the place or rent it out. That's it. So you're not losing. Now, for a standalone, the advantage of standalone is parties, because even when estates allow it, estates hardly allow parties. Yes, because of noise and all that. Even if they do, they will tell you, like in my estate, you're allowed to play loud music and all up until 10 p.m. If you're having a party, you have to tell them. Inside your house, it doesn't matter, but your neighbor should not be hearing that music after 10 p.m. You must reduce it. But it's standalone, meaning that you just got a property somewhere, did it up. Nobody is going to bother you how long. So a lot of people book places like that for parties. A lot of Airbnb parties that I've gone to, a lot of parties that I've been to in Airbnbs are usually like standalone. Now the difference with that is that you have to get your own generator, water, everything. So you need someone fully on ground for this. I mean, for both services, you need a management. Now the advantage of estates is that you can also borrow the estate management, because the estate management has an office inside the estate. So you can have an agreement with them where they literally help you check in guests and check them out. So aside from your service fee, you can pay a different amount. Either you co-host with them, where when someone comes, you give them a percentage, or you pay them a certain thing so that they just always help you check in, things like that, put the person up to speed. If there's any issue, somebody has who to call that is in the estate that can attend to it, immediately. But if not, in that case, there are also things that people do. You get a place that has like a boys' quarters. What that means is the room at the back of the house is not connected to the house, and put somebody there. So you can either pay the person or have an arrangement with the person. So the person's arrangement might be somebody, imagine someone, you have an Airbnb in Lekki and somebody works in VI. And she comes from Ikorodu to work every day, and you offer her an accommodation and say, you know what, take this accommodation. You don't have to pay. Normally, if you have to pay, this accommodation will be costing you like 2-3 million, but I'm giving it to you for nothing in exchange of you taking care of my property. A lot of people will go for it. Or you can also hire a full manager who will fully be in charge of that. The only difference is that you have to now pay the person every month, whether you get a job, whether you get booking or not. The person is on your payroll. So whichever way that works for you, that's fine. Another thing that I do in case you're not around is that when it comes to Airbnb, another thing that makes your Airbnb attractive now is depends on where you're going for. If you're going for like a 1-2 bed, it means that you're going to get a lot of like young people booking it. Make sure it is Instagrammable. Yes, make sure that it's aesthetically pleasing, because those are things that these young people are looking out for, and that's the things that will promote your Airbnb, because they will do those videos there and people say, oh, where did you stay? But in trying to make it aesthetically pleasing, please do not use expensive things to furnish your Airbnb. Always look out for yard sales and people that are trying to leave the country that are just selling off their things, because things will get damaged. Yes, things will get damaged, and what can you really ask for damage fee, right? Again, another thing that I do that I found very helpful is using this door where a smart lock. So you give them the code. If they're supposed to stay for 3 days, the code lasts for 3 days. Another thing that you need to check on the internet is good, that you need to check for your Airbnb is making sure that you're in a place where the water is treated. Another thing is Wi-Fi, because oh my God, nobody wants to stay in your Airbnb if the Wi-Fi is not good. So you need a backup Wi-Fi and probably have like a modem, like maybe an MTN modem or something there for backup. People can rate you 0 if your Wi-Fi, like your internet speed is not great. So yes, make sure it's Instagrammable, make sure it is there. And then states as well, I definitely know of Lagos, I know of Port Harcourt, I know of Uyo now, which is fast. Yeah. And so in places like Enugu, for example, Enugu is a very family place. So you might ask, oh, will Airbnb work in this place? And I'll say yes and no. Everything works, but the thing is the turnaround of somebody that probably has Airbnb in Lagos in a good place will be higher than somebody that has Airbnb in the East, because most of the time when people go to East, they're going there to visit family, so they either stay with the family, right? But does that mean that people will not book you? People will book you, obviously, but the turnaround. So it's very important. I think I also mentioned things like if you're looking for 1 bed, 2 bed, it's also a fast sale. And there's something people do as well with their Airbnb. Like if you live in a 2 bed and you want to convert it into an Airbnb, so you put separate for it. So let's say your Airbnb is 150K for the 2 bed, but somebody decides to book 1 bed. So you just lock one of the rooms and give it as a 1 bed. If someone wants 2 bed, you open both rooms. It's really good. Now, if you have 3 to 4, so tailor your marketing towards that. Now, if you have like 3 to 4 bedrooms, you are looking at group travelers, you are looking at family, you're going to get a lot of bookings from those people peak period, Christmas, Easter, every now and then. But a 1 bed, 2 bed, you're likely to get bookings almost every weekend, especially if you put it on like things like booking.com, and your reviews are good, you're running your Instagram ads. When people come there, they have nice reviews about the host. Best believe that you're likely to get, because people come into Lagos every weekend. There are some people that fly into Lagos Friday with the last flights, and they leave either early morning flights on Monday or the late flight on Sunday. Yes, there's always something happening, wedding, event, something. So if you're very strategic, you will book your Airbnb. But it is important to have a good host, like a good manager. Like I said, it's very important to have lights. If you can also back up your lights with solar, so that your guests won't even get to feel the off and on. Please maintain your Airbnb. I'm saying this because maintenance culture is so bad in Nigeria. We really do not know how to maintain. You go somewhere for the first time and it's like all good. The second time you're going there, you're like, what is happening? Another thing that can help your Airbnb and your short stay is also to add services as well. You can add services like cook. Yes, you can tell them that it comes with a cook. You can have things like hire a maid for a day. You can collaborate with companies that do things like hire a maid for a day and hire a cook. Collaborate with them. People do not like to talk to too many people. So collaborate with them when selling. You can tell them that, oh, this Airbnb, they're going to be cleaning it maybe like twice a week or whatever. It depends on the arrangement. But they can have a standby maid that work with them for 1 week, or they can have a cook if they want, that can come every day or once a week, depending on how they want it. Now, you already have this you've already made had this arrangement with the service that provides this. So instead of talking to too many people, you are that middleman. Of course, another thing is for your Airbnb to be around interesting things, right? So when buying a property, think about it. Like, drive to the place and say, if I come into this place as a foreigner or as a Nigerian that lived abroad, is this place homely enough? Is this where I can stay? If it's in an estate, make sure it has basic things like gym, swimming pool, playground. These are the things that they look out for when people are coming to, get your space. Make sure that in your listing, nobody is saying that it takes you a while to respond. And I know that Nigerians don't really ask people for Google review. I don't get it. The last makeup artist that did up my makeup, I just wanted a simple makeup. I noticed that most times when you tell people to give you simple makeup, they like, you already paid a lot of money, so they want the blush to be blushing. And I just went on Google and I was searching for someone who does simple makeup. And I saw this comments. A lot of comments were saying, oh, if you want a simple makeup, she's the one, she's the one. And I booked her. And while I was done, she was like, please, do you mind putting a review? You see that a lot abroad. I don't know why in Nigeria, people do not tell people to do Google, to write a Google review for them. It is very, 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 very important, right? So yes, if you're abroad, Airbnb is something you can definitely do. But if you're doing this, I will tell you that because of the way the Nigerian system works, I would suggest that you have a co-host, like co-host with somebody instead of just outrightly paying the person. Co-host with somebody who takes a percentage every time you get a booking. Market it well. Think about your audience. Don't say, oh, I have a 2-bedroom, but I'm going to target a family of 5. No. Now that it's Christmas, add just little things like when people come in, their welcome package. If you're abroad, why is it that when you go to these countries, what are the things that they do? When you go to Dubai, what are the things that they do that makes you just say, wow, I want to come back here again? Think about those things and bring it here. If you're in the diaspora and like you go to hotels, go and lodge in, take your time and go to like 1 or 2 Airbnbs. Find out what worked for you, what didn't you like. Were you trying to reach the host at night for something and you couldn't? How frustrated were you? Things like this. Obviously, they have other sides to the other disadvantage of the businesses as well, which is people stealing your stuff. There's a man that literally does a video on the amount of things. I think he's in Birmingham or so. In fact, at some point they start stealing his his PS2 or something like that. Crazy. And he will track it to their place. So yes, things like that, putting a tracker, put camera in common areas, let people know. Obviously by law you're meant to let people know that this place is monitored by CCTV. You're not putting it in the bedrooms, but at least like key areas as well. Everything in your power to make the place comfortable. Even though you have 24 hours electricity in the place you're staying in, make sure that you put an inverter so that the people are comfortable. Make sure everything is comfortable. Make sure you always think of returning customers. Yes, returning customers is important. Like I said as well, the reason I do not advertise my Airbnb businesses is because I have leased it out. So that's also a very good way to make money. If you're coming from the diaspora and you already know people there, you can start networking, right? So that when you want to open your business, you can lease it to those companies who always brings experts to come and stay here. Just to talk a bit on the difference with Shortlet. Shortlet is more of where with Airbnb they do weekend bookings now and then, 3 days, but a Shortlet is more like what we call here. It's where people do extended like 3 to 6 months. Oftentimes people come into Lagos and they don't want to rent, because if you know one thing about renting in Lagos, you have to pay agency fee, pay this. It doesn't come furnished down to air conditioner. You have to buy everything. Now imagine you're coming for 6 months. Hotels will be too uncomfortable for you for that 6 months and also expensive. Now renting a place for an entire year, paying legal and all that might also be very expensive. So what you can do as well is to get a Shortlet and stay there for the 6 months, for the 3 months. So yes, this Airbnb stuff, I don't know, it's still the same thing. Airbnb, Shortlets, what? But yeah, it's like you can have room as well for, okay, when you're marketing, you can let people know that this is somewhere you can stay for 3 to 4 months. What will make it different, right? You also have to factor that, like, electricity bills and stuff like that. When you're doing the Airbnb business for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, the people are not in charge of electricity. They can run it anyhow, it's the bills on you. But then when it comes to shortlets where they are there for 1 month, 2 months, you can say, okay, this is how to do this. You're going to be in charge of loading the meter by yourself, things like that, right? The fee is going to be different. Even when you're doing like Airbnb, they don't get to pay for the monthly service charge if you're in an estate, but for shortlet, the people know that they have to pay, but it's still convenient and it's still easier than them going to rent a whole place. So yes, to answer the question of everybody that has asked, Airbnb shortlet is still a very good business in Nigeria. The people that are talking about it the negative way is just like any other business. They've gotten it wrong. Probably someone sold a bad location to them. They might not tell you. I know this guy that was talking about how he's lost a lot of money because the estates that they sold to him is not working. So every time he brings in people there, they rate him bad. And at some point, they have to take off his property from the listing. So yes, do your due diligence. Make sure you get a lawyer if you're co-hosting with somebody, if you're leasing from somebody, whatever it is. Even if you're buying a place, make sure that the estate you can even make them sign that it is allowed to use this place for XYZ. So you don't buy for this and furnish it and somebody will come and tell you that no, it's not allowed. Yes, and like I said, maintenance culture, it is very, very important. It is something that we lack in Nigeria. Make sure that your Airbnb is always clean, up to date. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and if you have more questions about investing in Nigeria or anything about moving back to Nigeria, do well to comment below or send me an email, whatever it means is better. Instagram has been glitching recently, so I'm faster with emails. So thank you so much for watching. My name still remains Sarah Donald. Bye.